Have you ever exploded at someone in anger, screaming, crying, losing absolute control of your mind, only for them to instantly go completely calm, look at you with cold, dead eyes, and ask, "Why are you acting so crazy?" You immediately feel a rush of shame. You apologize. You think there is something deeply wrong with you. You wonder if you are the toxic one. But you didn't just lose your temper. You didn't just have a breakdown. You walked directly into a carefully engineered psychological trap. Your anger wasn't an accident. It was heavily manufactured. And the person standing in front of you, playing the calm, innocent victim, has been systematically poisoning you for months, just waiting for this exact moment. Today, we aren't looking at your anger. We are dissecting the terrifying, invisible manipulation tactic known as reactive abuse. And once you see how this game is played, you will never let them pull the strings again. To understand the trap, you must first understand the architecture of the invisible prison you've been living in. Toxic dynamics rarely begin with loud, screaming matches. If a manipulator showed you their darkness on day one, you would run. Instead, the psychological destruction begins with 1,000 tiny, invisible cuts. It's the subtle insults disguised as jokes. It's the accidental forgotten promises. It's the boundary you set yesterday that they casually step over today, smiling as they do it. It is the constant, relentless shifting of reality. When you bring up a genuine concern, you are met with deflection, gaslighting, or complete stonewalling. They deny things they said just 20 minutes ago. They twist your words until you are defending yourself against an accusation that makes no sense. You try to be rational. You try to communicate. You try to be the bigger person. You swallow your frustration. You absorb the disrespect. You hold it all inside because you want peace. But the human nervous system is not designed to absorb endless psychological warfare. Your amygdala, the survival center of your brain, starts logging every microaggression. It senses danger. The pressure inside you is building, millimeter by millimeter. The manipulator knows this. They can feel the pressure building inside you. In fact, they are the ones turning up the heat. They are studying your triggers. They are mapping out your psychological weak points. They know exactly which button to press, which tone of voice to use, and which insecurity to weaponize. They push, and they push, and they provoke. They bait you with calculated precision. And then, one day, over something completely trivial, a misplaced key, a tone of voice, a dirty dish, the dam breaks. You snap. You scream. You cry. You hurl insults. You might even throw something or punch a wall. You have temporarily lost your mind. Now, freeze that moment. Pay very close attention to the manipulator. If someone is genuinely attacked by an unhinged, angry person, their natural biological response is fear, defense, or retreat. But the toxic individual doesn't look scared. They don't flinch. Instead, a terrifying calm washes over them. Their voice drops to a steady, quiet whisper. They might even pull out their phone to record you. "Look at yourself," they say. "Look at how unstable you are. I can't even talk to you when you are like this." Welcome to reactive abuse. The manipulator has successfully outsourced their toxicity onto you. They have covertly handed you a loaded gun, pointed your finger at the trigger, forced you to fire it, and then stood back to call the police. Why do they do this? Because toxic individuals, narcissists, sociopaths, and severe manipulators cannot tolerate accountability. They live in a constant state of internal shame and chaos, but they need the outside world to view them as flawless. To maintain this illusion, they need a scapegoat. They need a monster. They need you to be the crazy one. By pushing you until you break, they achieve two deeply sinister goals simultaneously. First, They completely erase the original abuse. Whatever legitimate grievance you had, whatever cruel thing they did to you an hour ago, is now gone. The entire conversation has shifted. The narrative is no longer about their sustained cruelty. It is solely about your explosive reaction. Second, they feed on the power of controlling your emotional state. Watching a strong, rational person completely unravel gives them an intoxicating psychological high. They are the puppeteer, and you are dancing wildly on their strings. But the nightmare doesn't end when the argument stops. This is where the trap snaps fully shut. Because of your reaction, the manipulator now has tangible evidence against you. They have the text messages you sent in an all-caps blind rage. They have the audio recording of you screaming. They have the broken plate on the kitchen floor. What do you have? You have an invisible history of silent provocations, subtle smirks, and unprovable gaslighting. In the court of public opinion, you look like the abuser. They take this evidence and they go to your friends, their family, maybe even your colleagues. They play the role of the exhausted, battered victim. I don't know what to do anymore. They sigh. I just try to love them, but they are so unstable. I'm worried about their mental health. And the most disturbing part, you start to believe them. Because you are a person with empathy and a conscience, you feel crushing guilt for your outburst. You look at your own behavior and you feel disgusted. You apologize. You beg for forgiveness. You promise to go to therapy to work on your anger issues. You spend days agonizing over how toxic you are. You start Googling, "Am I a narcissist?" This is the ultimate victory for the manipulator. They have committed psychological identity theft. They have transferred their sickness into your mind, and they have taken your sanity for themselves. They sleep peacefully, knowing that you are staying awake at night, tearing yourself apart. Listen to me very carefully. Your reaction was not a malfunction. Your anger was not evidence of your insanity. Your explosion was a deeply primitive, biological distress signal. It was your soul screaming that you were trapped in a room with a predator. You were starved of oxygen, starved of reality, and your body violently broke a window just to breathe. Was your reaction ugly? Yes. Was it toxic? Yes. But it was reactive. It was a defense mechanism against a silent terror. A cornered animal will bite, not because it is evil, but because it is trying to survive. The manipulator cornered you, poked you with a stick, and then cried to the world when you finally showed your teeth. You are not crazy. You are exhausted. You must realize that trying to explain your reaction to the manipulator is a waste of breath. You cannot use logic to defeat a person who is intentionally operating outside of reality. They know what they did to get you there. They simply do not care. The moment you realize that their calmness during your breakdown is not a sign of emotional maturity, but a symptom of profound pathology, the illusion breaks. They need your chaos to hide their darkness. Without your loud, messy reaction, their quiet, calculated abuse becomes completely visible. If you stop providing the smokescreen, they are left standing, exposed in the light. So, how do you escape the crazy-making trap? You cannot out-argue them. You cannot out-manipulate them. The only way to win a rigged game is to refuse to play. The ultimate weapon against a manipulator is not a louder scream. It is absolute, unbreakable, terrifying apathy. It is called the gray rock method. You become completely uninteresting, unresponsive. When they drop a subtle insult, you look at them with a blank stare and say nothing. When they try to rewrite history, you do not debate the facts. You simply say, "I know what happened," and walk away. You stop defending yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. The next time they push the button, let it break. Let them press it again and again, and watch their frustration grow when nothing happens. Watch the mask slip when they realize their remote control to your nervous system has lost its signal. You are not the monster they painted you to be. You simply gave the wrong person the power to hold the brush. Take it back.